different. And someone showed me a picture of George Lucas wearing a Zach McCracken t-shirt, which is kind of fun. Okay, a second. Okay, here we go. So everyone know there's this, in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, there's this, in the games that we did, and pretty much all the games we've done since, there's this little joke in there, would you like to buy one of these fine leather jackets? And it's basically a throwaway line that never works to do anything. But at the time it went into this game, the company was actually selling these jackets. And it says right here, there's a little patch somewhere. Right there, it says Indiana Jones and Last Crusade on it. And you could buy it for like $150, and most of us bought one. And because it was stressed leather, they really don't wear out very well. They just look worse, which is okay. I love the title on the poster. The man with the hat is back, and this time he's bringing his dad. If you know the movie, it's Sean Connery is Indiana's father. So the team for this one, we were told we were going to do this game, I think it was in December. The movie was due out in the next following June. It gave us about 6 or 7 months to put the whole thing together. So the way they did that was by putting 3 designers on the game at the same time, and which is really interesting because in the past each one of us had been designers on our own projects and never together. So this time, Ron Gilbert, Noah Falstein, and I were working on the game. Each broke it up in different parts, each in a different section of it. We had brainstorming meetings together, and every once in a while we come up into these areas where we weren't sure what to do. I'll come into that in a second. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. The game project started off with a meeting with George and Steven, which was kind of fun. And we mostly wanted to find out whether or not, and what could we do? How far could we go? For example, could we kill Indiana Jones? Would that be okay? And he said, yeah, sure. Kill him if you want. Steve wanted us to do a game which took place in every country in the world, and was a huge, expansive game. We had to kind of pull that back a bit. And they basically gave us free rein. We could do it exactly like the movie. We could go way off and do things that had nothing to do with the movie. So basically, do what you want. Great. So we did. Here's the cover and the back. Some screenshots. It's like I'm missing something. Okay. One thing that happened was we got the script before the film was edited, and there were a couple of scenes that we actually put into the game that came from the script that got cut from the movie, which was kind of fun. So there's a whole scene on a Zeppelin in the radio room in the Zeppelin that was supposed to have been in the film, which got cut, but it's still in the game. Something that changed in this was more advanced animation. We're now, this is the first game we did is this right? That started on the PC instead of on the Commodore 64, so we did have more storage. We were devastated when we saw a Sierra game which had a lot better animation than we had been using. And so we quickly created a new system which probably was named after some bodily fluid, which I can't remember, and it allowed us to do a full animation sequence. So in this case, Indy is whipping this hook and pulling it down rather than just walking here and pretend like you're doing something. So this had much nicer animation. I mentioned before that we had to come up with a way to resolve conflicts. So of course, how do you, if the 3 of us were essentially equal in terms of creating the game, how could you feature us equally? So, the best way, of course, would have been to have different screens showing us our names in different orders. So no one got top billing, but we didn't have a space for that. So in this case, we figure we put the top person on the far right, so you weren't sure if he was first or last, depending on how you read it, and I got to be in the middle. So is Ron Gilbert first, or is he bottom? Anyway, that was one way we did it. Another problem was at the very end of the game, Ron wrote some really funny dialogue, which we thought was intended as placeholder dialogue, kind of to take the place until someone got around to writing the real dialogue. So it was really tongue-in-cheek and wacky and had nothing to do with the style of Indiana Jones. And so we had a meeting once, and Noah was talking about the dialogue he had finished writing, which would be the final dialogue that would go in here. And Ron said, "What do you mean final dialogue?" And I said, "Well, your dialogue is just placeholder dialogue, right?" And he said, "No, it's supposed to be like that." And so now we're stuck with, both these guys have written really good dialogue for the end sequences, but they're totally different. So I think my solution was to use both and use a random number generator to figure out which one would be played. So sometimes when you play the game, you get the wacky off-the-wall humor. Sometimes it's very serious and very accurate. And then they both had to check my code to make sure that the random number generator was really a random number generator, so it was really equal. Like, nice going, Elsa. I'm sure that was Ron's. I think, what was the dialogue? Let me give an example of a Ron dialogue here. "You should have seen the wreck this place was in after the last guys left. But now you must go. I fear I have a Herculean task yet before me. Now where was that broom?" And of course, at the end, this was text, so we could easily come up with 3 versions. So randomly, either you'll see it like this, like that, or like that. And another great website which has a lot of good stuff on the games. Here's the URL to check out. So let's look at some in-jokes. I've kind of gone through all the games that I was there for, that I actually worked on. And so let's go through some jokes. Maniac Mansion. There's this ongoing joke with a chainsaw. It's really a red herring, meaning that it's of no value. You can't do anything with it. It shows up in the title sequence. You see it on the kitchen wall. If you pick it up, which you can, and try to use it, it just says, "I think it's out of gas." And since this is one of our first games, we realized that probably wasn't very nice to do to you guys, because there really wasn't anything to do with it. So everyone was, of course, spending time trying to find out where the gas was for the chainsaw so they could cut apart the entire house or kill someone with it. And there was nothing you can do. So when I did Zach McCracken, of course, I put a can of gas in the youth hostel in Mars. So if you walk to the can of gas, and it says, use for chainsaws only. I don't need it. It's for a different game. Wherever we could, we'd use a poster of one of our other games in a different game. So here's a Maniac Mansion poster in Zach. Here's a Zach poster in an expanded version of Maniac Mansion with better art. And if you read it, it says, "Zach McCracken and Alien Mindbenders. What a great game." I never did figure out what to do with a can of gas on Mars.